When it comes to considering a real estate mortgage loan, many people are actually caught up between choosing a shorter loan tenure or a longer loan tenure. Many actually share their opinion and perspective that a shorter loan tenure can allow the homeowner to pay off the loans faster and cut off the interest payments shorter, while a longer loan tenure stretches the loan payment and therefore extends the interest payment for many years more. Are you one of them?
So, do you like it shorter or longer? What's up, everybody? Welcome to VC. My name is Vincent.
And I'm Chloe. So, to understand whether you should get a longer loan tenure or a shorter loan tenure, it is important to understand what a mortgage loan is.
So a mortgage loan is a loan taken out by a home buyer or property buyer from a bank to buy the property. Interest rates for home loans in Malaysia are based on the base rate, which lay out the minimum interest rate banks give to the home loan.
So taking up a loan means you don't have to fork up money to pay for the whole property price at once. For example, taking a 500,000 property, most people won't have that amount of money in their bank's account unless you're like 40 years old or 50 years old. I don't know, but it's unlikely to see people to have this amount of money in their banks.
Yep, that's true, unless you're rich lah, right? That's why taking up a home loan will help you to own the property, leveraging the bank while you are paying through monthly installment. Seeing that banks are lending you money to pay for your property while you are paying the bank back through monthly installment. Of course, unless you have enough savings to pay for the entire property in cash, a home loan is definitely necessary to you to help you afford a property.
When it comes to the loan tenure, not just one client, but we have a lot of clients don't want to pay up the loan until they're 60 years old plus or even 70 years old, even if banks are giving out a maximum of 35 years loan tenure.
Yep, so if you're a financially conservative Malaysian who hates to take on the debt, chances are you'll cringe at a long home loan tenure. Not only does the concept of borrowing stress you out, you feel like you're losing out by taking a long tenure.
So before we jump into the reasons whether you should take a longer loan tenure or a shorter loan tenure, it is important to know the purpose of buying a property. Are you buying it for your own stay or as an investment? Are you purchasing a residential property or a commercial property? Now you're probably wondering, why does this even matter? We're talking about loan, not the purpose of buying. We'll talk about that in a bit.
So after having your purpose clear, let's look at the difference between taking up a longer loan tenure compared to a shorter loan tenure. Firstly, the most obvious one is if you're taking up a longer loan tenure, your monthly repayment will be lower, resulting in a shorter loan tenure, you'll be paying more when it comes to your monthly installment.
Secondly, of course, if you're taking up a shorter loan tenure, you'll be paying off your property way faster, which means you'll be debt-free much faster than the longer loan tenure. Next, if you're taking up a shorter loan tenure, the cons will be you have less cash flow. Whether we're talking about investing or for your own stay, your cash flow will be lesser when you're taking up a shorter loan tenure compared to a longer loan tenure. So imagine taking up a longer loan tenure where your monthly installments are lower. You can take that extra money, whether you want to invest in other things or maybe just cash flow for you and your family.
So the fourth is, taking up a longer loan tenure means that you have more security. Of course, this depending on each individual person, but let's talk about what if something happened to you, touch wood, where you're not able to work anymore for maybe half a year long, while your monthly installments still continue, right? Yet you're not able to generate any income. That's where you feel the burden, the weight of the monthly installment because you only can depending on your savings or maybe your partner who is working.
Last but not least, when you take up a longer loan tenure, your monthly installments will be lower, which means this housing commitment is lower. So if you're planning to get a second property, whether for an investment or your second home, your qualifications will be higher compared with a shorter loan tenure. This is because whenever banks want to lend you money, they gotta count your eligibility by taking your salary, then deducting with your commitments. So when a person has a higher monthly repayment, they might not be able to qualify for the next property, or maybe they can go for a cheaper one. After those 5 things we explained just now, you better remember that.
Yep, now let's do some calculation and comparison with the real number. So firstly, take up a property price at 500,000 with a 90% loan, 450,000. Interest rate, let's make it 3% as an average right now. If you take up 35 years, your monthly repayment will be around at 1,732 ringgit. While if you are taking up a 20 years loan tenure, your monthly repayment will probably around at 2,496 ringgit. Yep.
Yep, so it's a difference of 764 ringgit, which is a lot. Okay, I could eat like 50 double cheeseburgers with that. So when it comes to taking up a home loan tenure from commercial banks, it is important to understand your monthly repayments are broken up into two parts. One is principal and one is interest. Logically, when you're taking up a longer loan tenure, you'll be paying more interest than a shorter loan tenure. So usually for a loan tenure, for the first few years, you will be paying more interest than the principal. Then the principal will gradually increases while the interest decreases.
We also asked whether you're planning to buy a residential property or commercial property. That is because in Malaysia, the loan tenure for these two properties are different. The maximum loan tenure for a residential property is 35 years or until you are 70 years old max, whichever reaches first. So while a commercial property is average at 25 years. So do remember that to take this into consideration. That's why elderly always say buy a property when you're young, as you are not able to loan as long as possible if you are older anymore.
But disclaimer, this is just our own opinion. All of this will depend on you yourself because you are the one who's buying that property and taking up that loan. Personally, for us, if you're buying for your own stay, yes, you can definitely take a shorter loan tenure as it will be a home for you. I mean, of course, if you're eligible for it, kan. You can't just say your salary is 4,000 ringgit and you want to take up a loan with a monthly repayment of 3,500 just because you want a shorter loan tenure. It doesn't work that way. Not to mention, banks nowadays are more cautious on taking risks due to the pandemic going on since 2020, where unfortunately a lot of people are losing their jobs and their salary is being deducted. Banks' qualifications are now more tightened.
So, okay, chill. So back to the topic, buying a property for your own stay is considered as a liability. So let me explain. As much as a property is an asset, but since you're living in it, you're not gaining any cash flow or income. It is considered as a liability where you have to pay off every single month. So there is definitely no argument if you're financially capable to get a shorter loan tenure. But you think that you can carry it since everyone wants to be debt-free, right?
Yep, but remember we asked you what's the purpose of buying that property, investment or own stay. Now this is because when you're buying a property for an investment, we would highly suggest you to go for a longer loan tenure. You're probably wondering why. Firstly, a housing mortgage is a good debt. A simple rule about debt is that if it increases your net worth or has future value in it, it is a good debt. For example, business loans, housing loans, while bad debts are credit cards, personal loans. These are bad debts.
So let's say you're planning to buy your next property for investment. A longer loan tenure with a lower monthly installment will qualify you better compared to a shorter loan tenure, as this amount will be deducted when counting your eligibility. So we want to be eligible to keep buying properties and let the rental income flow, right?
And of course, when buying a property for your investment, we want cash flow. Now, if your mindset tells you you want to pay off it earlier so that you can collect rent and be debt-free, please do follow your own mindset. But in our opinion, we want to use the least amount of money to invest. Even better, no money is needed.
So when you are paying for your installment, let's say 1,400 ringgit per month, your rental income is around like 1,700. That's where you get positive cash flow. You don't even have to pay for your monthly installment because the rental already covered it for you. Comparing to taking a shorter loan tenure, maybe 2,300 per month, rental is 1,700. Are you willing to cough up the extra 600 ringgit per month? Well, that's a question for you to think about because we wouldn't lah.
Yep.
Yeah, because we rather take the 600 ringgit to invest something else, maybe stocks, crypto, maybe your emergency fund, your pocket money, and maybe saving up for your next property.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus it's important to have an emergency fund just in case anything happen bad or unpredictable lah.
Yeah. So to dive in deeper, I think the most critical part is to understand that you're asking a bank to lend you, let's say 10 ringgit. And this 10 ringgit, you're gonna pay it up in the future.
In our previous video, we mentioned that 100 ringgit today wouldn't be 100 ringgit next year or the year after due to the inflation. The truth is, if you are borrowing the 10 ringgit today, pay back after 30 years, the real value will be 50 ringgit, 20 ringgit, 30 ringgit. Definitely higher than 10 ringgit. But taking out the mortgage loan allow you to pay back regardless of the value of the
money in the future.
That's where you can leverage the bank to own a property lah.
1 semester later.
Yeah, so we're going a little bit too far, but anyways, that's our take on longer loan tenure or shorter loan tenure. Yes, it's good to be debt-free. Everyone out there wants to be debt-free, same as us, but you gotta look into the reason of your purchase.
Yep, this is also subject to your financial capability. If you're telling that you can earn 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month, and 1,500, 3,000, it's makes no difference to you. By all, we'll go for it.
If you have a lot of cash, then go on, cash buy it. We genuinely hope that you will be happy with your property journey. Whether you're planning to buy one property and die with it, then go on. Or you're planning to own 10 properties and be a landlord just collecting rent, then go and do whatever you want.
So that's all from us today, and thank you for watching. If you gained some new knowledge from this video, do give us a like. Consider subscribing as we post a lot of property real estate content here in this channel. Join the VC family, and we will see you
In the next video.
Ciao!